Hi, and welcome back to the much anticipated branding and social media video. Finally, I'm basically discussing starting up businesses. I don't believe in spending heaps and heaps of money on advertising as yet because you're starting out, right? You don't want to be, if you have the funds to invest in that kind of advertising, great. But I'm all for optimizing and capitalizing on platforms that allow you to do it for free. All right, and for me, that is when the social media aspect of it comes in, because that is where you can focus most of your advertising, not the only place, but most of your advertising. There are lots of other kinds, but I'm gonna go into the three main ones that I employ, and I think a lot of people do employ. You get paid advertising, which is when you set up an advert in the background of your Instagram page so that it comes up as sponsored. All right, so you see that it's sponsored, and then it entices people to either learn more, go to this website, visit the page, or whatever the case is, right? That's your first type. Your second type of advert is influencer marketing, which I think is one of the better ways to advertise your brand. It is a bit saturated, but that is when brand's alignment becomes so important. I sound like I'm on Twitter, but very loose example. If you are doing a baby clothing brand, the best thing to do here would be to collaborate with an influencer who's just recently had a baby, and then that baby can wear the clothes and then they tag your brand, right? Or you can target mommy bloggers, people who basically vlog or blog about newborn babies, pregnancy. They are the people who you're going to target your influencer marketing to. Another example is that if you have a sportswear brand, you are not going to target just anyone and everyone. Well, you could, but it would be more ideal to target someone who's an active person, even if they're not like a personal, what do you call them? Personal what? I don't know what you call them. A personal gym person who helps you gym. I don't know. Personal trainer. English. Gosh. Even if you're not going to target a personal trainer, if you're going to target someone who's a fitness enthusiast, who really prides themselves in working out and eating well, that would be a perfect alignment. And then the last one is not used as much, but some brands use it, which is competitions and giveaways. These are great for driving engagement on your page and traffic to your page, gaining likes and all of that. It might be something as simple as I'm going to select a lucky follower to win this new top, and that's it. Or you might be tag a friend who would look great in this, and one lucky winner will win matching sets for them and their best friend, whatever the case is. I think those are very great because people love free things, like I've said before, and they will flood and like and comment and tag friends. And by doing that, by tagging friends, they are exposing your brand for you to their people, which works better than a sponsored advert because it's more organic. They came to your page through reference of another person, of which word of mouth is more powerful than broadcasted adverts. A simple example is that I would rather believe my cousin who told me about a brand than believe the TV advert I saw about the brand, which is why tag a friend and those kind of competitions or giveaways are very effective. So now that you understand how branding and social media come together in order to create awareness, in order to drive purchases and engagement with your brand, you can then tailor make your messages to fit whatever you're trying to achieve for that purpose. I guess in an umbrella overall kind of way, you are always trying to get people to buy your brand or purchase your brand. That is why sometimes flash sales can be great as well, where like you'll have a 20% discount off for today only and it ends at midnight. People will scramble and will purchase because 20% is a lot. And even though you might be making less than you would if you were selling it at 100% profit, 80% is still a lot. And people, guys, the economy is not the greatest. So people appreciate discounts, but word of caution, you do not want to be a brand who only makes sales when you have sales. Gosh, that sounds funny. You don't want to be a brand that only makes money when you only have sales, because that means because I'm in marketing, it means, how we would put it is that you're commoditizing your brand, meaning that you're making your brand very reliant on a lower price. And that is very bad, especially if you have products that are going to be more expensive. It's killing your brand very slowly. So try to also drive purchases that are not only driven by sales or promotions, if that makes sense. I hope it makes sense. Okay. There are 3 main types of social media that I use. I use Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. And going forward, I really do want to stress to you guys that these are very, very different platforms and they are used differently. And I think some people don't really encompass that when they do their posts. Facebook, for one, is probably the most robust platform in the sense that you can upload videos, you can upload blog posts, you can upload pictures, music, everything, right? But the most beneficial is that you can also load products and put prices on there, which is great. Even something as small as having an intro video where you tell people, hi, this is my brand, we are inspired by X, Y, and Z, and you can see more of our clothes if you go to the photos tab. It gives you an opportunity to really get your brand out there and get people to know about your brand and read about your brand and all of the sorts. And that is why Facebook is still a very great one. Another thing is that I think I made the Coke example. I think the Facebook example is true, is that there are places that have Facebook but don't have running water. I mean, is that true? Can it be true? Yeah, it can be true, because when I go back home, Lalini, to the village, we don't have running water. We have a tank, but you will find people in the village have Facebook, which makes sense. So yeah, I think it is true. But basically what I'm trying to illustrate is that Facebook has the most amount of users out of all these platforms. So when you have a page there, ensure that you engage with your people. If people post or comment under a picture asking a question, reply. If people send a message asking about a price, reply. Because that is where the biggest amount of people come from. Okay, then you go onto Twitter. Twitter, guys, I don't know if everyone has a Twitter account, but Twitter basically is more of a conversational platform. So you've always got to ensure that, a very basic example, you cannot take the text from Facebook and post it on Twitter if it's a long one, because Twitter has limited characters, number one. Number two, how you speak on Facebook is very different to how you speak on Twitter. Twitter has to be quick, punchy, to the point, right? And you also engage a lot more with customers on Twitter on a one-on-one basis, because you can actually have specific conversations with specific users. When they reply and you reply and they reply and so on. So the mindset on Twitter is very different because it's a more one-on-one basis, whereas Facebook is a post and everyone can see and everyone can comment, right? The one thing to really remember about Twitter is that when you have a picture in your tweet and then you have your text, that takes up the full screen of a cell phone screen, which is the best thing you can do for marketing. Being able to take up the full screen because you added a picture in your tweet is vital, because that means they are only seeing your brand. You're not being distracted by anything else, which is why if you see any brand on Twitter, whether it is Lay's, Nissan, VW, they always have a picture or a video because it takes up a full screen. So note that if you do decide to use Twitter. Then we're going to go into Instagram, which is basically a very visual platform. So just to differentiate the three, Facebook is for the biggest audience and it allows you to be the most information rich, videos, text, blogs, everything, Facebook. Twitter is more conversational, one-on-one. This is where you get to engage with your customers. And by saying that, I don't mean don't reply on Facebook and Instagram. You reply everywhere, guys. Engagement is important. Like I've said before, it builds trust with your customers, especially for an online brand that they've never seen or touched. Things like that build trust, and trust goes a long way. It enables people to spend money. Okay, so even though Twitter is one-on-one, it allows you to engage with consumers on a one-on-one level. And then you have Instagram, which is a purely visual platform. Why? Because they specialize in pictures more than they do in text. That's why even though you can have a caption that long, Instagram will only show that much, and then they'll have the more button, right? Because their whole aim is to show pictures. So having that in mind, you need to really invest in your pictures. I've seen brands, and this is how I started out. I'm not shading anyone. I was there. I might insert old pictures. Let me do that. So you see what I mean. And I use my old pictures because back then I didn't understand the value of having an amazing picture. If you compare an old picture and a new picture of mine now, you can see the big difference. Like one is a lot more thought out, it's edited better in terms of color and saturation and all of that. But the older ones were just slapstick. Well, they weren't slapstick. I didn't know better. Like now I invest in doing my hair and I put on lipstick and I look cute. Whereas back then I didn't even think of makeup, right? Small things like that make pictures great. But the point I'm trying to illustrate is that because Instagram is a visual platform, you have to invest in your pictures. And I'm not saying go buy a 16,000 Rand camera. I'm not saying have a 20-hour photo shoot with makeup and studio and lighting. No, just take one or few good pictures, edit them well, and there you go. I also use the app. I don't know how to say it. I say Anum, Unum, Unum. I don't know. I'm going to put the link below. But this app enables you to plan your color scheme. So, for example, when I was promoting this, I focused on pink hues. There were pink and purple balloons. I think I wanted to use the jacaranda tree because it's very close to this color. But you basically plan. It's a very visual thing, a very visual place. I'm going to actually add links below of very visually pleasing pages where you could scroll for hours because it's so well planned out. Now that I've expressed the importance of great images because it's a visual platform, what does that mean? So when you have images that are that great, images that are so crisp and perfect, it entices people to want that. Because we don't look at a worn out car, with a light missing, a broken window and say, I want that. No, you look at the picture of a very clean, shiny car, and you can even imagine, oh my gosh, it smells so good inside, and that's what you want. It's all about appeal. So that is one of the biggest benefits of Instagram. You rely and you leverage on people looking at this page, loving the pictures, and end up wanting the products. Of course, though, like I've said with brand purpose and what your brand stands for and all of that stuff, it all comes together. People don't just look at a picture and want it. Well, some do. But some people might like it, but they need more. So, for example, TomTom, I don't know if you guys remember it was a sneaker, a training shoe, running shoe, whatever it was, the shoes. They People liked the shoe because it was cheap, but what drew them to buy more from the brand was because for every shoe that they sold, another shoe was given to someone in need. So even though you might have a great picture and great Instagram feed, everything else that you've been doing in the background, the trust, the engagement, the promotions, it all ties into actually converting someone into actually buying. And that is what marketing and branding is all about. And that is it from me today. Thank you so much.